Dear friends, welcome to this week's virtual Drasha. This week we have the incredible privilege to read Parashas Naso. And amongst the many incredible mitzvos and beautiful ideas contained in the parasha is the concept of the Nazir. The individual undertakes the Nazirite vow which prohibits him from consuming wine, from cutting his hair, and from coming in contact with the dead. And the Torah relates this is in Parak Vav, Pasuk Beis, chapter 6, verse 2. Isha, if a man or a woman, kiyafli lindar neder nazir lahazir lahashem. Which loosely translated, if a person undertakes a Nazirite vow to become a Nazir to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Rashi HaKadosh notes the juxtaposition between Nazir and Sota. Remember again, Sota is the section of the woman who is suspected of adultery, and she undergoes an incredibly difficult and overwhelming process to ascertain her guilt or her innocence. And Torah relates, or Rashi is intrigued by the juxtaposition of Nazir to Sota. And Rashi quotes the Gemara that says, Lama nismacha Parshas Nazir le Parshas Sota. Why is the section of Nazir juxtaposed to the section of Sota? Lomar lecha to teach us, shekal haroes Sota b'kilkula yazir atzma min hayayin. That a person who sees the process of Sota should abstain from wine, should become a Nazir, and as part of the Neder Naziros, as part of the Nazirite vow, abstain from wine. And the Gemara in Maseches Sota expounds on this just a little bit more. Gemara Maseches Nazir as well expounds on this a bit more and explains that sometimes Sota situations or promiscuity or lack of morality could often be preceded by overindulgence with alcohol. So a person goes ahead and sees what happened with the Sota, and almost like their reaction is to become a Nazir to abstain from wine. Or even if the Sota circumstance wasn't necessarily related to wine, but a person can realize that sometimes overindulgence in anything in life, but specifically with alcohol, can lower one's guard and allow one to chas v'shalom engage in activities or in behaviors that they would not normally do. Therefore, the juxtaposition is almost a reactionary one. A person saw a Sota, a person saw immorality, or even just potential for immorality. Because remember again, the entire Sota scenario only happens because people allow themselves to be in compromised circumstances. So a person sees what could happen with an unchecked lifestyle. A person could see what happens when there's a lowering of protective gidarim or boundaries, and the reaction to seeing either the alleged immorality or actual immorality of the Sota triggers a person's need to perhaps restrict themselves a little bit more, to go ahead and just take some dramatic action in order to safeguard their own morality, and that dramatic action manifests itself in the Neder Naziros, in the Nazirite vow. And the great tzaddik, Rav Menachem Mendel of Vitebsk, asks an interesting question. He says, I understand it. Person sees the Sota, a person sees this horrible situation where a woman is accused of this terrible behavior, and the truth is, if she did it, she didn't do it, it's such a terrible matzav, it's such a horrible situation. So a person says, you know what, I gotta do something, I'm going to become a Nazir. So the Rebbe asks something very interesting. He says, I understand. If the person sees the Sota, he sees already the negative realities of living an unchecked lifestyle. So isn't that enough? Isn't that enough to trigger an internal mechanism of guarding? I'm going to be more vigilant with myself. He says, Prishos Yisera L'Shem Ma. Why do you have to become a Nazir? In other words, let the logic be like this. Person sees the Sota, is so troubled by what it is that he sees. You know what? I'm going to be different. I'm going to be better. I'm going to live differently going forward. Why does it require the acceptance of a Neder Naziros? Why does it require the Nazirite vow? Why isn't the cognition itself enough? Why isn't the newfound mental state or mental awareness enough? Why does it also have to include a Neder Naziros, this Nazirite vow, this restrictive lifestyle? It's a great question, an incredible question, but the answer is fairly obvious and simple. And the Rebbe says, because in life, if you want to affect change, you have to modify behaviors. Mental change or a mental shift or a cognitive shift is very important. And at the end of the day, that might be the first step. But unless a person is really willing to change behaviors, unless a person is really willing to change a lifestyle, and unless a person is willing to go ahead and adjust the way that I live day to day, change won't stick. Because cognitive shifts, mental shifts, a change in thinking is beautiful, but easy come, easy go. If you want to affect real change in life, real change requires behavioral modification. So therefore it's true. This guy who saw the Sota, or this woman who saw the Sota, may be so overwhelmed by what they see as a permissive or even promiscuous lifestyle, or just a lifestyle without boundaries. Like, okay, I gotta live differently. I have a whole plan. It's beautiful to have a plan. Tachlis, what are you doing? The Neder Nazirus represents a commitment to behavioral change. Now, Neder Nazirus might be an extreme example of this, but the Yesod, says the Rebbe Vitebsk, is the Yesod that we have to take with us throughout life. If you want to affect change within your own life, so cognition is not enough. I have to change my behaviors. I have to change the way that I live. I have to do something. We speak about often the power of a Kabbalah, that a person goes ahead and has an inspiring experience. And again, sometimes it can be positive inspiration, sometimes it can be heartbreaking inspiration, but I realize that I've just experienced something that has changed my life, or that should change my life. And sometimes we allow the inspiration to live inside of us, but we don't plug it into anything concrete. Unplugged, or I should say untethered inspiration, just simply evaporates over time, sometimes sooner, sometimes later, but it never remains. That's why the avoda is that in those moments of inspiration, plug it into something concrete, plug it into something behavioral. Take the feeling, and embed it in a concrete behavioral framework. So the person who sees the sota is so overwhelmed about what an unchecked lifestyle could create. It's very beautiful. You have the inspiration. Now do something. And Drasha, okay, what is he going to do? Nazir. Again, it doesn't have to be Naziros, but Naziros is the example of taking a feeling and plugging it into concrete behavioral change. David HaMelech, whose yahrzeit was just Shavuos, David HaMelech says in Tehillim, one of my favorite psukim, in Parak Yud Gimel Pasuk Vav, chapter 13, verse 6 in Tehillim, V'ani bechastecha batachti, yageli bi b'shuasecha, ashira laHashem ki gamalaya. Literally translated, Hashem, I have complete faith in your chesed, complete faith in your kindness. Yagel libi b'shuasecha, my heart will rejoice over your salvation. That phrase by itself is so beautiful, because what David HaMelech is highlighting is the ability to feel the joy of future divine redemption even in the present. David HaMelech says, I'm so sure, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're going to come through for me. I'm so sure that you're going to provide me salvation, that I rejoice in the salvation now, even though it hasn't occurred yet. I believe in your chesed. Your chesed is going to come, and as a result of believing it's going to come, I rejoice right now for the potential future salvation. Beautiful. But David HaMelech doesn't end there. What does he say? Ashira laHashem ki gamal alai. I will sing. See, David HaMelech takes the energy, takes the feeling of there's two emotions here. Ani bechastecha batachti. I believe in your chesed. I believe, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with all of my heart that you are going to come through. Yagel libi b'shuasecha. I am rejoicing now for future salvation. But all of that is emotional. All of that is cognitive. All of that is spiritual. But I have to do something. So what do I do? What do I do to take the feelings that are rattling around inside of me and to embed them in the world of reality? I have to do a mice. I have to do an action. Ashira laHashem. I'll sing. I'll write Tehillim. Shira was David HaMelech's way of taking all of those feelings, all of that cognition, all of that emotion, all of that inspiration, all of that inner holiness, and embedding it in a framework of physical behavior. Ashira, Shira. Right? When you sing something, you bring it out into the world, you compose a Shira, you've created something new for the world, for yourself. I have all of this belief in your chesed. I literally rejoice in your salvation now, but it's not enough because all of that's internal. Ashira laHashem ki gamal alai. Let me take what's inside and bring it out. And as you go into this Shabbos at Parshas Naso on the heels of Shavuos, I'm hoping that many of us had just an incredible aliyah over Shavuos. People experience inspiration in different ways on Shavuos. So for some people, staying up all night, Baruch Hashem just gives them this aliyah, and even though you're exhausted for the rest of Yom Tov, you feel like you're groggy with holiness and groggy with beauty, spiritual beauty. For others, it might be Megillas Rus. For others, find incredible inspiration in Yizkor and Halal and davening, whatever it is, wherever your point of inspiration is. One thing is clear, which is we've just re-received the Torah. We've just been reborn. We've just been recreated. We just reunited and concretized and renewed our vows, so to speak, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's something new, and there's all that inspiration rattling inside, and I get to go from Yom Tov into Shabbos. But inspiration comes and inspiration goes. Figure out what you're plugging it into. What's the Naso? What's the action? What's your neder nazirus? How is your inspiration going to manifest itself in a physical way in your life? Maybe it's a new chavrusa. Maybe it's taking on something additional to learn. Maybe it's a bit more chesed, whatever it is. But just find your neder nazirus. Find your Nazirite vow. And make sure to take all of that beautiful, holy, and positive energy within and allow it to come out into the world of sustained, dynamic activity. Wishing everyone a good Ner Shabbos and a beautiful Shabbos Kodesh.